You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey, all you music lovers, welcome back to Modern Musicology. My name is Alan. Say hello to Stephanie Seymour, Rob Levy,
hey,
and Anthony Williams.
Yo.
This week, we are heading back toward the year 1986, taking a look at all these great albums and singles that are celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. We did, if you didn't listen to our last episode, we covered the months of January through June from 86. And this week, we're going to do the second half of the year, July through December. And
I just want to say one thing before we
let's
start.
do.
Okay, so you know how like on the Wikipedia page for 1986, it gives you the list of all the...
Yes.
Okay, I think someone intentionally is fucking with us because... we talked about Crowded House being a June release. Did you?
I was going to
notice
bring
what
that
happened? What the fuck? Now it says it was August. So I'm sorry for all the people who might look at this list and say, you're not talking about Crowded House. We already covered that as a June release in part one.
Right.
What the hell? And I think they just like something else changed too. I was like, what's going on?
Well, there's a bunch of records that it didn't put in there either that are interesting.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
It's one of those
cares
things
about me.
I wonder if it might have been, New Zealand release, Australia release versus US release or something like that.
Usually it denotes that though.
Yeah, that's true.
June was gone and it just appeared under August. So whatever.
Well, guess what?
Well, maybe something so strong carried it away.
Oh, God.
Hey, at least we did cover it in 1986.
Exactly.
No, yeah, that's right. At least we didn't think it was 92 or anything.
Yeah.
We still sort of have our music cred about us.
Oh, yeah. So I don't have any June ones, but Filmon wants to go for a June. Oh, no, because we don't. Sorry. Sorry, now I'm getting confused.
Oh, my gosh.
Steph, should we just start with REM?
Yes. Can we just start with Life Rich Pageant, please?
Sure.
That would be great. Okay. Rob, you're going to talk about this too, yeah?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I actually feel like this, well, okay, I don't want to say this is my favorite REM record, but it does have one of my favorite REM songs on it, which is Begin to Begin.
Yes.
Yes. Rob is pumping his arms. You agree with me. And also Superman, which just as an aside, Mike Mills sings, and it's the closer on the album. But wow, this album is great. It's a little bit of a departure in sound for them too, from their first 3 albums. Like it's a little more rockin', I feel like, and you can hear Mike's voice. Not only can you hear it better in the whole overall sound of everything, but he's less not that he's not garbled still, but he's less garbled than he usually had been. But yeah, there's great tunes on this album. These Days, Fall on Me, What If We Give It Away? I love that song.
Yeah. And this was kind of like, I'd heard them up until then. I kind of liked singles and things before. They're kind of like a hit and miss college band for me before this. But this is the one that turned the corner for me. And again, the influence of MTV, because that Fall on Me video was on 120 minutes, like every time you turned around. And then it also feels like the first sort of complete album they made. Right.
I was just going to say that there's like it's a fully formed package. Yeah.
And like Superman at the end, it's like a really great little rocker on it.
Really
that I think
Swan Hummingbird. Oh,
yeah. It's like even the songs that aren't the super best songs in the world are great, and Begin to Begin should have been a single. Superman was fantastic. And that was kind of like a throwaway B-side for a while. They just threw it on the record. But yeah, it's really, I just think it's really tight. And the thing I really like on it is I like the percussion on it. And I like how Buck plays guitar on it. Those are the two big things.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was hearing a band and not just Michael Stipe with a band with him.
Yeah. Yeah. This was great.
I was, I don't know, 20, whatever, I don't even know, years ago, was involved in a convention for a queer audience, gay and lesbian audience, basically. And I put together a band, and we did a show of basically the three like sort of queer angled bands from the Atlanta area. So we had two girl singers. We started with Indigo Girls.
Mm-hmm.
The girl singers did like 5 songs. They went off stage. Then we did a set of REM. Then the girls came back on, and we did a longer set of B-52s. And then we did an encore of one song of each one of those bands. For our REM set, we started with Begin to Begin. Oh my God, that is a fun song to play.
I bet.
Oh,
the drums are great on that.
It really is.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's a great album. I really dig it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good starting point for the band too. If you're sort of like trying to jump into their catalog, I think that's sort of like the perfect place to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. It gives you a fully formed REM.
Yeah. So I can pivot off of that, and REM adjacent, also from Athens, horribly underrated, Guadalcanal Diary, who were fantastic. They were a hell of a live band, and they released Jamboree, which had probably a song you could not really release right now called Cattle Prod that was really great on it. It's fantastic. It's just a really solid, like, crunchy little rock record. If you want to know why the Georgia Satellites sounded like the way they did, it's because they listened to some Guadalcanal Diary records. It's got Michael Rockefeller on it. It's got a cover of Icy Mo. Cattle Prod's the last song, and Pray for Rain's really good too. So I'll throw that in. So we're staying REM adjacent.
I want to take us in a completely different direction.
I couldn't have guessed that, Anthony.
I do have some things that could follow on from that, but I'm going to mix it up and come back to the slightly more indie alternative scene later. But I want to take us straight to my favorite album of 1986, which is Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time.
Yeah, baby.
Which is just such an incredible album, featuring probably the greatest song Iron Maiden have ever recorded in Wasted Years. That song is incredible. Obviously, it's an album of long songs, right? So there's only one song under 5 minutes long, which is Deja Vu, but it features possibly my favorite Iron Maiden epics, right? So every Iron Maiden album, from probably The Number of the Beast through to the end of Bruce's time, first time round with Fear of the Dark, featured one epic that was over 8 minutes long. And in this case, it's Alexander the Great, which is just such an incredible song. I love it when Iron Maiden does history. I love it when their songs tell a story, and this song is both. It is so goddamn good. Metal Hammer called the album Iron Maiden's most underrated release of the 1980s. I think I would agree with that. A lot of people go to the albums around it, but not to this one. And the cover art is just phenomenal. If you look at it closely, obviously it's got a futuristic Eddie because it always has to have Eddie. But if you look at it closely in detail, there are so many different references to different sci-fi properties, as well as to Iron Maiden lore. So you see references in there to Dune, to Blade Runner, to Doctor Who, to Philip K. Dick. But you also see references to Long Beach Arena and a clock that's at 2 minutes to midnight, a Phantom Opera house, an Aces High bar. So it's melding these various interests into the art, and it's just so very cool.
I'm looking at it right now. It's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah. So amazing album, amazing artwork, truly awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great album. I will say Power Slave is probably my favorite Iron Maiden album, but there is no better song in the entire Iron Maiden catalog than Wasted Years.
Yeah.
That song is just a slamming, incredible song. But Alex the Great, I agree with you, is right up under there.
Now, Alan, I do want to just say this album is sandwiched by your favorite Iron Maiden album on one side and my favorite on the other, because my true favorite is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which
that's good too.
Came out in 88. So in 2 years' time, I look forward to talking about that one. And now you've all heard my neurodivergent info dump on that. I yield the floor.
Well, okay. So you want to take a big left turn. This is kind of an important year for a classic band, the Monkees, because this was their 20th anniversary and this was a big comeback for them. And they put out this whole thing was relaunched not only with the series being broadcast on MTV for the first time, and everybody seeing those reruns of those great episodes for the first time in a long, long time, but they put out a new collection that's basically a greatest hits collection of all their big things from the 60s, but it also includes 3 new tracks. There was the big single was called That Was Then, This Is Now. There was a song called Anytime, Anyplace, Anywhere. And then they also did a new cover of a Paul Revere and the Raiders song called Kicks. And this is kind of relevant to us because a few years ago, we interviewed a guy called David Fishoff. This is his brainchild. He was the one that was basically behind the relaunch of the Monkees and putting that big tour together. And go back and listen to that episode because he's a really cool dude with a lot of great stories to tell. And quite an aside, he's also the genius behind Ringo Starr's All Stars. He was the one who pitched that idea to Ringo, said, what if you put together a band of lots of famous people and you went out on tour and played a bunch of your songs and 1 or 2 each of all of their songs? And it's been going ever since for like 20 something years now. Ringo has been doing this All Stars show with different lineups every time. And that David Fishoff guy, man, he's got some ideas.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love the Monkees. And, I actually remembered seeing, I don't think I saw the original show. Well, I could have. I don't know when it was originally broadcast in the 60s. I mean, I was really little if that happened. I probably saw reruns later in the 70s, but I loved them so much. And I really remember when it was on MTV, and that was so cool, like to see that, to see them again, a little bit older and a little bit like knowing more about them.
Yeah, I was very young when it originally broadcast 66 through 69-ish.
Okay, I couldn't have read it then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that I saw him first run, but I definitely saw him when I was young.
Yeah, like in the 70s they
So seeing him again in the late 80s on MTV was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I grew up with a sister who was a huge Monkees fan. So I was very exposed. Even if I hadn't watched the show, I was very exposed to them.
Right. Oh, cool. Well, I'll take it. I'll that's very poppy, and I'll take it in a really 80s poppy direction, which is Huey Lewis and the News. They released 4. Now, I did not like Huey Lewis and the News when they were
Me too.
in their heyday.
Yeah.
Right. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
People listen to our show. They know that, but I have come to really appreciate them for the pop songwriters and also just for the amazing vocalists and players that they all are. So this album is their 4th album. It was huge. I mean, it had hits like Jacob's Ladder, Stuck on You, Hip to Be Square, which I still don't really love that song, but
me neither.
Doing It All for My Baby is pretty good though. I like that. But I found an interesting story that the Jacob's Ladder song was actually a song that he wrote, I guess, for Bruce Hornsby.
Yes.
But Bruce Hornsby didn't like the way his band played it or something, so he gave it back to Huey Lewis. You do it.
Right.
And I'm glad he did because I love his version of it, their version of it. But I just wanted to mention that because you could not go anywhere without seeing that all over the place or hearing that on every radio station. So I think it deserves a mention.
Well, talking about like pop angled rock, this is a little bit heavier than Huey, but you can't talk about 86 and not talk about Slippery When Wet.
Oh God, no,
by
you
Bon
can't.
Jovi, because that
Yeah.
fucking album was everywhere.
I saw that tour.
And that was the record that broke him. And I remember I was working at Specs Music, the record shop, at the time that this came out. And I remember the Billboard review of it was like, if this album does not make Bon Jovi the biggest band on the planet, nothing can.
Yeah.
And it was 100% right.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it, but and I'm not a big Bon Jovi fan at all, but it's worth mentioning just because it was so omnipresent.
Oh, I think it was a great album. So yeah, this was a great show too. I remember seeing it at the Meadowlands. But I just want to also mention that when Wanted Dead or Alive came out as a single, I mean, I thought that was a great thing for Richie too, because his voice I mean, clearly, I mean, not to diss John Bon Jovi, who has a great voice, but Richie has a spectacular voice.
Yeah. That is my favorite song on the record.
Yeah.
I haven't actually listened to the album in probably 40 years, but
I like Raise Your Hands too. Raise your hands.
Yeah, I like that one too. That's pretty good.
I can pivot to the absurd and talk about Sig Zig Sputnik, which, at the time in the record stores and little teen clubs and stuff, everyone's like, this band Sig Zig Sputnik's going to be great. And I'm like, okay, what is this? Right. So it's the brainchild of Tony James, who used to be in Generation X. And he got a fashion producer named Martin Degville to sing, and some other people in the band. And they got Giorgio Moroder to produce the record. And they thought it was going to break. And, it had 3 singles on it, but they thought this band was going to explode. And it took off, but it didn't, I don't think, staggered the stratosphere as much as everyone. EMI spent a lot of money on this band and they broke even. Now, hindsight, we look at the production on it and we're like, wow, this is great. But this sort of is the start of like the hype train of the late 80s and early 90s happening. The interesting thing about Flaunt It by Sig Zig Sputnik is one of the people who's sort of the uncredited mastermind behind it is Mick Jones, who we'll talk about a little bit later, from the Clash and Big Audio Dynamite. He helped them figure out how to put the samples in and kind of manipulate their sound and finesse it. And he played live with them because him and Tony James go way back. And when you listen to like Love Missile F-111 and some of the stuff now, it is sort of like this cheeky, we don't like commercialism. We don't like, consumer culture. So here's a consumer culture record. But I don't think anybody got it. Now we kind of do. But, it was an interesting attempt in that the way the songs go together, it's the way that it's mixed, the way the samples are used. That damn Love Missile F-111, which is in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that thing is so friggin' catchy. Even if you never hear the singing on it, you just hear that Marauder beat on there is just so incredibly frustratingly catchy. But it's not one of Marauder's sort of shining moments, right? He worked on it, he got done, it got paid, but he's done so many things that he touched and it turned into gold, and this was just kind of there. But it's also one of those records that people look back at now and go, oh, this is the 80s. So it's one of the records that sounds like the mid 80s. It's one of the records that sort of like captures the height of like economic excess and fashion and glamour and stuff, and tries to put and they just take it. If you've never seen them, just go online and look at them. They look incredibly stupid, but that's part of the whole shtick.
I thought F-111 was a great song. I loved it when it came out. Have you ever heard Bowie's cover of it?
Yes, I have.
It is bizarre.
Yeah.
It is not the kind of song you would ever expect Bowie to cover.
Yeah. And then the 21st Century Boy is really good too. And then they have a couple interesting things, like Atari Baby on it is interesting and stuff. The other cool thing about it is just the graphics from a graphic standpoint of record albums. That album is like got so much dense graphic on it, stuff on it, that if you look at it, you're spend like 20 minutes just looking at the album art. Yeah. So that was really, really a fun little record.
Yeah. Then he hit us with another metal record.
I actually wanted to go in a different direction next and come back to metal. So, Rob, do you want to talk about one of our joint ones?
Yes, sir. We can talk about whatever you'd like.
No, I know what's coming.
So, many regular listeners will know that Rob and I share a deep love for Sparks. And if you haven't realized that and you've listened to this show before, you clearly haven't been listening carefully enough because we've rambled. We did an entire show on this band. But 1986 saw the release of what I think of as one of their more underrated albums, which is called Music That You Can Dance To, also known as The Best of Sparks, Music That You Can Dance To, which fits in with their sense of humor because this is a new album at the time and was not actually a best of. But it features some incredible tracks. I particularly love the title track. Rosebud is one of their more serious songs, but I think is so good. It's got this total epicness to it that's just wonderful. Change is really fun, although in some editions, Armies of the Night is on there instead. And an album Rob and I kind of waxed lyrically about when we both saw them in 22, which is Shopping Mall of Love. And Rob, what do you love about this album?
I was so amazed that they went back to do that one because I thought Shopping Mall of Love was kind of like this record that only I liked, or like, you just, until you meet another Sparks fan, it's one of those records you're like, oh, but what's interesting is when this record came out, as so many of Sparks records, people were just kind of like, okay, it's a Sparks record. And the reviewers at the time kind of just said, they were very passé on it and didn't really give it much of a glance. Now, especially with the documentary and everything, they're looking at this going, these guys kind of knew what they were doing. And is it the best Sparks album? No, but it is one of the most finessed and great. Fingertips is great, which I love as well. They were at this time too, they were doing, this was something different for them too. It was it marked a bit of a change for them, and it's really hard to believe that, at this point, this is their, 14th record at this point?
Something like that.
Yeah. I think it's their 14th album. At this point, Sparks has made 14 albums since 1986. Right. And Sparks is going in, they're in the 80s and they're like, how do we fit in? Well, you know what? You fit in. And you've done a pretty good job. And the other thing too is Ron's voice is really good on this. Before his voice was good, but sometimes it sounded overmixed, and sometimes he just sounds, I don't know how to, maybe it's me, but he just sounds so confident on this record with the way he sings.
Do you mean Ron or Russell?
Russell, sorry. I meant Russell. Yeah. Russell sounds way more confident in how he sings than he had on a couple of these previous records. So I think the band had a plan going into the studio. I think they executed it, and I think they made the record they wanted to make. Mm-hmm. Damn everybody else. And now 40 years later, it's getting remastered and kids are paying $50 for it on vinyl. And a new
it's me, I'm kids.
My 99-cent copy that I bought in the early 90s it goes for like $200 or $300 now. So wow, that's got to say something that the kids appreciate the Sparks now. Again, if you haven't listened to Sparks by now, for the love of God, do something. The world's going to hell. There's a Sparks record for you. Do it. But this one is just fun, and they're always fun. They're great, and music that you could dance to is so cheeky. It's just fun.
I love the story of the title track.
Yes.
The label said we need music that you can dance to. So they wrote a song called Music That You Can Dance To.
Yeah.
It's just one of my favorite things ever. It's just so very quintessentially Sparks. And I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
All right. Who's next?
Alan, hit us with something.
Well, I don't really have anything that segues from that into
okay. Do a 180.
I know.
Sideways.
Well, I can do a metal one, so that'll lead Anthony into another metal one. But back to metal, and this is like the stupidest metal ever. This is coming out after the time when Vinnie Vincent was kicked his ass out of Kiss. And he puts together this band called the Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
Yes, he does.
Oh, wow.
I think I saw them.
God. That album, really?
Yeah, like Cat Club or something.
Oh my gosh. It's so bad. Because the songs aren't terrible, but he's one of those like speed flash kind of guitar players. He's not that melodic a player. He just tries to hit you with as many notes in 1 second as he possibly can. And this album is nothing but that, because Kiss basically were like, you know what, your style doesn't really match with us. We're going to find somebody else. So I think this was like his revenge, you know.
Fuck you.
Yeah, his fuck you. And it's so bad. The vocals are terrible, and the songs aren't. And he's a really good songwriter, but these songs just aren't. I mean, maybe these songs are kind of like shrouded in this insane kamikaze attack of guitar notes and screechy vocals. But oh man, I find it pretty much unlistenable. Poor old Vinny. So Anthony, how about you got some good metal for us? How about that?
Yeah, so this was the year of thrash.
Yeah,
we already talked about Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
And I have 2 albums to mention. One of them is just a brief mention. I'm not a huge Slayer fan. However,
this is the one.
This is the one that everyone who listens to Slayer will generally acknowledge was the album that made them. Some will say it's the best, some will have different opinions, but this was the album that broke them big. I mean, people knew who they were on the thrash scene, but this is their Master of Puppets. Again, not a huge fan of Slayer, but I will recognize how good both Angel of Death and the track Raining Blood itself is. Both are just phenomenal.
I remember hearing this at punk shows in between band sets and just going, what the hell is this? What is thrash? And a lot of, as we talked about the last time we did this, a lot of the kids that were into metal had records that the punk kids picked up on, and thrash just took off with punk kids and punk shows, because there was this was like a serious adrenaline rush. And it also pivots into being an influential record for industrial music, which I'll pivot into something for a release anyway. Look, go ahead.
Because I want to follow up on your thing here. But
and I just want to interject really quickly that Rain in Blood was my introduction. So that was the first Slayer song I ever heard. It's good.
Me too.
And I do have another album that I want to segue from this directly into. But for those of you at home who like to have fun times with your partner to music and maybe to the rhythm, I challenge you. Raining Blood. Go for it.
Okay.
Chicka chicka wow wow. Public service announcement. From Anthony Williams, Doctor of Love.
I will hear that song very differently from now on.
Good luck. I hope you have good stamina.
Hey, you know what? At least it's not Leo Sayer. Good for you.
Leo
God.
So I mentioned this was the year of thrash, and Raining Blood is my honorable mention. Master of Puppets was the best one of the year, but that was in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
And the best thrash album of the second half of the year, in my opinion, disclaimer, don't at me, audience, is Peace Sells But Who's Buying by Megadeth.
Yeah, dog, that is a great record.
And it's their second album. It's their sophomore record. You know, sophomore records are always difficult. But even Lars Ulrich was a fan. And we all know there wasn't a lot of love between Dave Mustaine and Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
So, you know, just you look at the tracks, it starts off with Wake Up Dead. Then we're into The Conjuring, which Mustaine won't play anymore because of its witchcraft themes, and he is now born again. And of course, the title track, Peace Sells. All 3 of those phenomenal tracks are on the first side. What a strong opening trio of songs. Amazing.
Yeah.
Second side, just as strong. Good Morning Black Friday and My Last Words, kind of really bookending that second side. Not a fan of I Ain't Superstitious. That's a cover that didn't really need to happen, but, you know, metal bands do that sometimes. But I think this is just such a strong album. Really, really good addition to the thrash scene in 1986.
Yeah, that's a great album. All right, speaking of the thrash scene and whatever, just so kind of a little overview, like this was one of the best years of my life, I feel like, in terms of music and just being like I was so into the hardcore scene. I was going to like every CB's matinee. And a little disclaimer, at the time I was going out with Doug from the Cro-Mags, and they put out Age of Quarrel on Profile this year. And this was a massive hardcore record. It was like one of the biggest. I would argue that it was one of the top 10, like, influential hardcore records of all time. Like We Gotta Know, Signs of the Times, Hard Times, like so many great songs on this album. It was massive. So, and they influenced a lot of bands from other genres too, like metal bands. Like this was a hardcore album, but it was, had a lot of metal influence in it and influenced metal at the same time. So that album, Bad Brains, Eye Against Eye,
Yes,
came out.
Oh my God, yes,
On SST this year. Another huge album that influenced so many people. So I think like this album, like Cro-Mags, Bad Brains, and then Beastie Boys hit with License to Ill on Def Jam. And it's like this kind of like trio for me of albums that all have influence on different scenes. And like you were saying, thrash, hardcore, metal, then of course rap with Beastie Boys. Again, to me, this is, and I know this is before they became, self-aware humans and were, not, totally misogynistic or whatever. I know I can see this album for what it was looking back, but at the same time, it's got so many great songs on it. So many great songs. I could sing I really could sing the whole album for you, but I ain't gonna, but.
Please.
Brass monkey, that funky monkey. No, I won't.
You said the same thing last week about the Run DMC album,
which I could also sing like that whole thing for you too. I just love the rap that was coming out around this time because I think it was just so. I mean, it's the OG kind of like stuff. So,
and the thing about that record too is I used to play it on my Walkman when I was coming into school and scaring the shit out of the Christian Brothers. That record really scared a lot of people.
Beasties or what?
The Beastie Boys.
Okay.
That
they
record
could all scare a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, but the Beastie Boys really scared a lot of people because it's like, oh shit, white people are listening to rap, and that really, really, really scared a lot of them. I mean, I think it's a cultural touchstone. That record,
completely. Thinking about them opening for like Madonna on the tour, and they got like, I mean, that was just like the most random weird thing, but that was just their introduction to massive success.
And it's also the rise of Rick Rubin and Def Jam.
Oh yeah, this is
right, which is also another touchstone moment. I did not wake up a day when I lived in Brooklyn that I didn't fucking hear No Sleep Till Brooklyn the point if I never hear it again, I'm great. But it's still great. It's the thing is that thing is so anthemic that it's great. Now the Cro-Mags too. That record's interesting because a guy named Al Jorgensen heard that record. And that's one of the records that sort of made Ministry sort of shift its sound. It's also, so that Cro-Mags record had a huge influence on industrial music too, which we're going to get kind of coming down the pike later. It also is a record that had a huge influence, as is another record I'm going to talk about in a minute, on this guy named Trent Reznor. And you talked about Bad Brains, you listen to like Living Color later, you listen to like 24/7 Spies,
I know.
There's,
and like you said, they were all influencing each other, like Fishbone, Murphy's Law, Bad Brains, Cro-Mags, all that.
When I saw the Beastie Boys, Murphy's Law was on that bill, and that's how I first saw Murphy's Law. But yeah, all three of those records are fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of rap, I didn't think to mention this at the top of the show, and the song that he's most known for comes out in 1988, so it doesn't fit our year, but Rob Bass passed away. Yesterday or today. I mean, yeah. So we should, I just wanted to get that mention in there.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And the thing about that Rob Bass record is that, again, that's one of those records that you'd go to clubs and you'd hear it.
Oh, you heard. Oh no. What happened? Yeah. Does anyone know?
No. But
I personally don't know. Sorry.
But yeah, again, you're seeing hip hop coming and rap coming out of clubs into suburbia, and people thought it was coming for their children, man. Yeah, anyone that was upset about their kids listening to metal had to step back in line because, oh my God, what's this? Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
PMRC or whatever that was at the time, that they were all over this record. It was 1986 was a great year for bands raising hell, literally, because people were not happy about, Slayer. They were not happy about the Beastie Boys. They were not happy about Metallica. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think now that Metallica like scared people, that they thought this was like going to turn their children into like knife wielding Satanists. But people really,
I was working at a record store at the time. I saw all that stuff coming out and people's reaction to it.
I remember.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I mean, I remember, I don't know if it was like this at your store, Alan, but to buy like the Metallica record or some of the metal stuff at the time at some of the stores here, you had to show an ID.
Mm-hmm.
And this was
we never did that.
Yeah. Some places were starting to do that because the churches are starting
to the PMRC or the PR.
Yeah. There's a guy named Jerry Falwell who's calling around. So I want to talk about Skinny Puppy, who put out an album this year, Mind the Perpetual Intercourse. They basically they were staying at the Chelsea or hotel, and they took a picture of a blurred porn image that was on the hotel TV and made it an album cover, which is great. But this record is a huge influence on Trent Reznor. It's a huge influence on the Rage Against the Machine guys. And they sort of start this like animal rights movement thing in music too, like mainstream. They're hardcore on it before this fuckwad named Morrissey's like starting on it. It's got some really cool samples in it. They're sampling horror movies, they're sampling like weird Christian homilies, and they're putting all this stuff into these like sound pastiches that are kind of like a very violent and angry Eno. It's kind of like this is something new and something different, and you very much hear the sounds of Skinny Puppy on the first and second Nine Inch Nails records in particular, and you hear them a little later in some other stuff as well. In the same way that you hear Slayer all over KMFDM records, you'll hear Skinny Puppy in a couple industrial records and sort of metal records coming later. It's again, this stew is percolating. And a lot of kids at the time, I don't know how it was for you, Steph, but a lot of kids at the time were really into like Skinny Puppy, and they sort of just, it's like, what is this? What, huh? And they were this sort of like nebulous thing that was out there, and they were very, very experimental early on. And then they got really hard and later thrashed a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. I remember when we were in the studio in Canada, when we were recording our album in 1990, and it was like a dude from Skinny Puppy and like a guy from Ministry, like they made an album together or something like that.
Oh yeah.
They were up there together. I mean, so like, it was that whole time of like the experimental industrial kind of music mixed with like electronica, it was very interesting.
A little bit of glam.
Yeah.
All right. So it is time for us to take a little bit of a break. We are going to be back in 30 seconds to talk about some more stuff from 1986. Don't go anywhere.
AI promo start. Podcast name, please.
What?
Thank you. Podcast what? Topic, please.
It's not what?
Podcast what? Topic, not what.
That's not it at all. You've got the name wrong.
Correction. Name is spelled. Please give correct letter.
Well,
Correct letter is I. Podcast is not what. Podcast is nitwit.
Oh, brother.
Brother is also a nitwit.
We're the Monkey Around Podcast.
We talk about the monkey.
We're on YouTube and podcast platforms.
AI promo ended. Podcast nitwit on the ESO network.
Okay, we are back. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we are talking about the second half of the year 1986, talking about a lot of great music that is celebrating 40th anniversaries. Another biggie, we talked about Slippery When Wet a little bit ago. Another huge one was Cyndi with True Colors, her second album, which was a massive record for her. And I've seen Cyndi a couple of times live, and both times that I saw her, she opened her show with the first track on this album, Change of Heart, which I think is one of the really great opening tracks. And to tie it into our last episode, the first half of 1986, Change of Heart features the Bangles on the background vocals.
Yes, it does.
But
good time.
There's a bunch of hits on this album, but I love a lot of the the deep tracks on this record. Boy Blue is amazing.
Yes.
Her cover of What's Going On is really good. Calm Inside the Storm, One Track Mind, and of course 911, which features a guest appearance by Pee Wee Herman doing the voice for B of the 911 operator. It's so funny.
Yes, she's so great. I mean, I love how even today, like True Colors has been covered by so many people, but also she's reinterpreted it so many different ways. And I've seen her perform it on TV and at different shows, and she's just, she's so creative.
Yeah,
and
she is.
It holds up so well, that song.
Yeah, totally.
All right, Rob, you want to take another of our joint ones?
Yeah, I'll take one.
Are we doing joints? Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I mean, we figured it was less bad for you than crack.
Okay.
Pass it.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
So one of the records that Anthony and I both love, and we talked about this, I think, a little bit before in other shows, and Steph, you're gonna be all over this too, is XTC Skylarking.
Oh yeah.
Which is interesting because it's a different record in America than it is in Britain, because in America they squeezed on Dear God and kind of messed up the whole. If you listen to the British version of it, it's all one continuous record, but Dear God kind of, when it comes on the American version, kind of messed up. But it's got, like, Grass is amazing, and just the interstitials between the songs. It's a throwback to a really great psychedelic 60s record, but it's also firmly entrenched in the present. The songwriting is clever. The lyrics are great. The melodies are fantastic. It just fires on all cylinders. First time I saw Amy Mann, Dave Gregory was his guitarist, and I went up to the bar with him with my XTC record to have him sign, and I ended up talking to him about it for like 45 minutes. And the entire time, it's produced by Todd Rundgren, and this record's a masterpiece. But the fact that the entire time they're making the record, Todd Rundgren and Andy Partridge are literally at each other's throats in the studio. So the fact that this record even got made, much less sounds the way it does, is pretty incredible.
Now, I will say I never heard this in the UK. I didn't discover this album until I moved to the US. I see exactly what you're saying about Dear God, Rob. I didn't know it wasn't on there on the British version, but it does feel like it would be better maybe as a final track. We've had the theme of the album. Now we're going to stick the commercial track on at the end, or if it had been right up at the beginning. I mean, I think it's a phenomenal track.
Oh my God, it is. Yes.
It's got so much wonderful, righteous anger about the issues we have on Earth. And, if there is a God, why is he letting children starve? It's brilliant. It's so angry, and it's done with such melody. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it fits where it is.
And when they played the video on 120 minutes, and this is kind of one of the ways I found this band and this record is I saw the video in 120 minutes, and I'm just stood there after it aired. I'm like, what the hell is that? More, please. And it was absolutely incredible. I was in a philosophy of religion class in high school at the time, and every Friday kids got to bring in one record to play, and everyone would talk about it. That was a bad day. But yeah, it's lyrically though, like, dear God, it's like just how he fits all of this stuff in a 4-minute pop song. How he just takes, mountains and mountains of philosophy and political thought and ideological thought and shoves it into a 4-minute song is genius.
Exactly.
And Andy Partridge as a songwriter is actually a genius. The fact that he didn't have stage fright, if he didn't, this band would have been huge, much more bigger than they were. And like Grass is great. And it's got the double entendre of Things We Did on Grass, which is, there you go. Right. And just all the tracks on it are great. This is a record of a band coming together, and it's just, the production's great on it. They wanted the drums to sound like Jethro Tull, and you're like, oh yeah, they kind of do, right? Ballet for a Rainy Day is also really good if you're looking for another song off of that. And also Earn Enough for Us, which I think doesn't get enough credit for being good. But yeah, it's one of the like most amazing records I think I remember hearing as a kid. Because I heard Dear God, I went to the store to buy it, I didn't look, I got home, Dear God wasn't on it. I'm like, what the hell? And I looked at the thing on the front, I said, oh, import. So then I had to run around and buy a 7-inch single for Dear God, which is fine. But I'm so glad that I heard it that way. And that led to me.
You heard as it was meant to be heard.
Yeah. And that led me to English Settlement and some other records of theirs that are great. And XTC is one of these interesting bands because a lot of people I know that are like really into like really hard punk and metal and like really like speed industrial music stuff, they all love this record.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. It's just, there's something tranquil and amazing and just great about it. It's just, I could go on about this forever, but it's amazing.
And just to tie it back to some other musical interests of mine, 2024, Steven Wilson remixed the album in Dolby Atmos.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And, his Atmos releases are just incredible. So if you've never heard this album that way, go and check it out. It will be a different experience to what you heard in 86.
And it was like hearing it it was like hearing a whole different record, but it's the same record because I knew all of those songs almost by heart. And there's stuff that he brought to the forefront that, and it's not that they didn't want to, I just don't think they had the technology to do it in 1986. And it's very layered.
Yeah, it is. And, I've said this before, his Atmos remixes of anything are just top tier.
Yeah.
Genuinely top tier. And this album's no exception.
All right, Steph, you got one?
All right, yeah, I'm going to just talk about Paul Simon's Graceland.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's an incredible record.
It's incredible. I also kind of feel weird talking about it just because I know there's been controversy, of course. There's obviously people that say he used the musicians and took advantage of the culture, and exploited them. But at the same time, a lot of people say, and some of the musicians involved in that actual recording were like, no, we were all in it together. And we were.
But lots of artists have done that.
I know. But there was a very big, kind of a controversy on this. And there's, especially because he had like Linda Ronstadt on this, which just the year before she had played Sun City. So it was kind of like,
that's true.
But then he was saying like, well, she's very politically open-minded. She made a mistake and she admitted it. But so I don't know. Anyway, I'm acknowledging that, but I'm just going to say that musically, to me, this album blows my mind. And also I'd like to just say that the first line of Graceland, the Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar, could be my top favorite opening line for a lyric ever, because that's just such a perfect line.
Yeah.
But wow, the variety of song. I know a lot of people think of, Chevy Chase in the video for Graceland.
No, for Call Me Out.
I mean, Call Me Out.
Oh my God.
I'm thinking about this album.
I hate that song so much.
Yeah, I do
too. Yeah, but that's
so
like
overplayed.
the most cheesy song. Like Graceland is a genius song. I Know What I Know. I mean, and Homeless. Even Los Lobos, though, like at the Los Lobos one that they do at the very end, that Los Lobos was saying that he ripped us off from the song we were jamming out in the studio. He basically just took that and put it on the record. So I don't know. It's hard to.
I will say that it made me sort of want to pursue other people. So I started listening to Ladysmith, Black Mambazo, and Fela, and it sort of really expanded my horizons.
It did for me too.
Yeah.
The song that Linda's on is absolutely beautiful.
The thing is, that record
Under African Skies,
everywhere.
Under African Skies. Yeah.
No. Well, the Graceland in general.
Oh yeah. I just think it's one of the best albums, and for him, it was definitely his most successful solo album. That's probably one of my main favorite albums of this year. What you got, Alan?
Well, I mentioned Bowie a little bit ago, and in our last show, in the first half of 86, I was talking about how he didn't have a solo album of his own this year, but he had two big singles from two big, huge soundtracks that came out. That's not the only thing that he was doing in 86, because he also co-wrote and produced an album for Iggy Pop. Now, he had done this before. In 1977, he had co-written and produced both The Idiot and Lust for Life. Those two albums came out in 77, and then also played piano in Iggy's band on those tours. But this year, they release Blah, 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 which is a very different sounding album from those earlier two. The earlier two were very raw. This one is, very 80s polished. The first single was a big single called Cry for Love. And then there was also Real Wild Child, which is just a killer song. And this album got a lot of criticism, and also from Iggy himself. For Iggy said it was basically a Bowie album. It got a lot of criticism for Bowie trying to force Iggy into that sound that Bowie was in at that moment, when he had just done Let's Dance and Tonight, those two big 80s, very polished kind of albums. He was basically forcing Iggy into that mold.
Yeah.
But later on, Iggy also said that there are 4 tracks on that album that, it was his commercially most successful album. And he said that there were 4 songs on it that basically told the Iggy Pop story better than anything he had ever done otherwise. So even Iggy himself is back and forth on that record.
Yeah. God, Real Wild Child is so perfect.
Oh my God. I know. I love it.
Yeah, it's so great.
Alan, did you also want to mention the Pretenders? Because I know we wanted to kind of talk about that together.
Sure. No,
yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. I love that album. The album is called Get Close, their 4th album. But I also wanted to mention this because my friend who I used to work with at Island Records, her name is Gigi Gazan. She actually co-wrote Light of the Moon with Carlos Alomar and Wayne Ragland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I know. And I love that song too. That's such a great song on this album. But I love it. My Baby, Don't Get Me Wrong. I know it was the single, but it's such a good song.
Him to Her is amazing.
Him to Her. I know.
Yeah. How Much Do You Get for Your Soul is very, very cool.
Yeah.
It's a good record. It's not nearly as punk or as rock as their earlier stuff.
Definitely.
It's a very different Pretenders album, but it's very good. I really love it.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Can I talk about my last one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a little album called What Up?
There you go.
So
Good impression.
In something that no one ever expected of me.
That's true.
Cameo with Word Up. What a great album. I still remember hearing the title track for the first time, and it wasn't the Cameo version. There was a Scottish hard rock band called Gun who put out a rock cover of it in the 90s, and that was my introduction to that song. And then Melanie B from the Spice Girls covered it in like 99. And I think that's when it clocked that the Gun version wasn't the original. And when the internet happened, or when we got the internet at my parents' house, I looked it up and found this group called Cameo, who I'd never heard of before. And oh my God, that singer has the most ridiculous red codpiece I've ever seen. Henry VIII would be jealous.
Yes.
And so the rabbit hole of this oddity that is Cameo started brewing in my mind, ruminating. And eventually I got Spotify. We all got Spotify these days. And I discovered the whole Word Up album. And those first 3 tracks on it, Word Up, Candy, and Back and Forth. Again, what a strong opening trio. I say that for the second time this podcast.
Yeah.
It is great. And there's something about Larry Blackmon's voice that's so odd, but so brilliant. And the funk notes of this album, I mean, I know they're a funk group, but it just hits so well. And it astonishes me that people see them as a one-hit wonder because of the title track. Yeah. But those other tracks, those other singles from this did really well.
Yeah.
This is a great album. I really enjoy listening to it. And, it's very out of the ordinary from me. For what I listen to. But yes.
And Larry Blackmon also had a pretty good reputation for producing as well, which is good. He turned down producing actually by the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the first person they wanted to produce that. Also, New Order wanted him to produce, and he turned that down as well. So that record really sort of did have some crossover appeal to it.
Interesting.
Way better than Timex Social Club.
Oh, well, come on.
Also big that year.
All right, I've got two more that I want to get in.
Okay.
And they kind of relate. They're both big successful pop albums. Well, one of them was not that successful in America. It did okay, but it was big everywhere else in the world. And that is the second Aha album, Scoundrel Days, which is just probably my favorite Aha record.
Mine too. Yeah.
It wasn't as commercially successful as their first record because of Take on Me and Sun Always Shines, but it did really well on its own. The first single, which I love, is called I've Been Losing You, which, is a very poppy, kind of sunny, very happy kind of song about murder. And it's got some dark ass lyrics, and I really love it.
The way he said murder was almost like Alan Cumming on The Traitors.
There you go.
Yeah.
I learned from the best. I mean, or he learned it from me. I don't know.
I would claim it.
Yep, sure. The second single was called Cry Wolf, and it is one of my favorite music videos that MTV used to show. Take on Me, was very much the stepping in and out of a comic book. Cry Wolf video was very much like a child's pop-up book. So this kid is turning pages of a pop-up book, and scenes from the story that the song is telling show up each time he turns a page. And then in the middle page, you see the band performing. And so all the pop-up images move and stuff. Oh, it's so beautifully done.
Great
It's really
video.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. So the whole album to me is great. The Swing of Things is wonderful. A song called October is really beautiful, appropriate since this album came out in October. And then the final track, Soft Rains of April, amazing song. And again, it's about death. It's about impending death in this case. The first one is, I've Been Losing You is about a guy who had just committed a murder. Soft Rains of April is about a guy who's looking forward to his impending death. And it's beautiful, but it's very dark.
And Alan, this album you didn't mention it, but it actually has my favorite Aha track on it, which is Manhattan Skyline.
Oh, yes.
That's such an amazing song.
Yeah. The way it goes from mellow to kind of rocky to back to mellow and goes through a bunch of moods.
Yeah.
The vocals on it, I mean, his singing is so fucking good on it.
Yeah, it really is.
If you haven't heard it, dear listener, go check out Manhattan Skyline.
Or you can check out the Spotify playlist that will accompany this album. I don't know if I'm going to include Manhattan on that because it is a really good song, but there are so many good songs. I don't know which one I'll pick, but you'll get a taste from this album.
Just put the whole damn album on it, Alan.
Okay,
it's
sure.
so
Why
good.
not? I don't mind doing that. And then the other one that kind of relates to that is the third Berlin album called Count 3 and Pray, which is a very different sound for Berlin. Earlier, they were very new wavy, very synthy kind of band. And now they're like a bigger rock, very guitar forward kind of sound. And it is such an incredibly great record with a guest appearance by David Gilmour, because everybody at this time was hiring Gilmour to play his very identifiable guitar solos on their records. Mm-hmm. My favorite track, though, is the first single, which wasn't a big single. The huge single on this was that Giorgio Moroder song, Take My Breath Away, from Top Gun, which was the biggest selling single of the year. But that doesn't give you a good taste of who Berlin is and what they do. But the first single from the album was called Like Flames, and it's written by their drummer, Rob Brill. And oh my God, it is big and anthemic and like this really huge fat sound, and it is incredible. It's also great because it was written by the drummer. But aside from that, it is just a killer song. So check that out on our Spotify playlist.
Sweet. I have just 4 little quick honorary mentions.
Okay.
I was going to talk about it more, but I'm not. Big Audio Dynamite with Number 10 Upping Street. Fucking love that.
My favorite one.
Oh, yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't think this is my favorite one, but there was definitely some good songs on this, like Beyond the Pale and Come On Every Beatbox, Sight CMC.
V13.
V13, of course. Yeah. I would like to mention Billy Joel's The Bridge, just for that song, A Matter of Trust, which I love. I know a lot of people don't.
I really love that song.
Okay. Yeah.
I
I love it. Bananarama went super cheesy pop with True Confessions. I don't love this album, but they really broke huge with their cover of Venus.
Weren't they always cheesy pop?
They were, but they were like cool. I mean, they were sort of more like cool underground cheesy pop. Was like, they polished them up, they took them out of their overalls, and
fair point. Fair point.
The other one is Duran Duran, Notorious. I like this album. I don't love it.
Notorious. I saw that tour. They were great.
Yeah,
that was the only time I ever saw Duran. They were really good.
Okay.
Rob, you got some more, don't you?
Oh, yeah. So I will jump into Love and Rockets Express, start to finish, a great record. Sort of, this is the year that the various people in Bauhaus are doing stuff. Peter Murphy put out his first solo record that year. And then Love and Rockets drops a cover of Ball of Confusion as a single. Again, it's not on the sort of original, their first albums. They stuck it on the American one for this one. And, Kundalini Express, Yin and Yang, The Flower Pot Man, All in My Mind, 2 versions of All in My Mind, An American Dream, Love Me. The whole record's just really, really solid.
Kundalini Express. Yes.
That whole record is just a powerhouse. Also, a record I spent endless time listening to back in the day was Brotherhood by New Order, which gives you Bizarre Love Triangle and a really great song called Every Little Counts at the end, which is like this really like kind of throwaway love song. And this is probably the one time they're able to really balance the electronic sound with their old sound well. And it's right before The Fracture with Peter Hook. And it's a really great album too, because you've got a lot of really interesting stuff on there. Paradise is interesting and some other stuff on this record. So that's really great. Billy Bragg talking with the Taxman about poetry. He's got Johnny Marr playing guitar on it. He's got Kirsty MacColl on it. He's covering all kinds of people. He's got Levi Stubbs' Tears. He's got Greetings to the New Brunette, which is just a masterpiece of a love song. People don't really realize that Billy Bragg wrote fantastic love songs, but Greetings to New Brunette is great. Help Save the Youth of America is great. Another record adjacent to that, the House Martins, London Zero Null Hull 4. Gives us Paul Heaton, who's another fantastic songwriter. And it's sort of like if the Smiths annoyed you, the House Martins were your band, because they were like the cheerful Smiths. And they were really melodic. And it was a really catchy band that flamed out before.
Rob, I've never heard of a more perfect description of the House Martins, the cheerful Smiths. That is incredibly accurate. And, you look at what they then spawned. Paul Heaton, of course, forming the Beautiful South. Norman Cook, their bassist at the time, going on to become Fatboy Slim.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, damn.
Fatboy Slim.
And of note to Doctor Who fans, one of David Tennant's favorite bands.
Yes, they are. Him and I had this like crazy long conversation about it briefly at Dragon Con one year, because they're fantastic. Their second record's even better, but like this one's just, they put an instrumental on it that's amazing. They're just great. They're the less annoying Proclaimers in many ways. they're just fun. So that record's really great. You also at this time you get the with Infected, which is a neat little record. And I want to give a shout out to Talking Heads, True Stories, which is sort of like, this is sort of when people that really listen to Talking Heads for a while kind of realized this band's not going to be around longer, because David Byrne is just gaining all this momentum and doing all these other things. It seems like so this is kind of in a way this and Little Creatures are kind of the end of Talking Heads. They're kind of in a transition point at this point. But there's some really fun stuff on there. Like Wild Wild Life is just a lot of fun. And if you want to channel your inner goth, this Mortal Coil, Filigree and Shadow, their second record, it's 4AD Records, kind of all-stars. You got members of the Cocteau Twins and, 10,000 other bands that are on 4AD all in one band. And it's really produced. And if you listen to Filigree and Shadow and you listen to artists later like Julie Cruz or some of the David Lynch soundtracks. This was like a huge influence on a lot of that stuff coming down the pipe in the 90s, and also really, really, really good. So, and we had 2 Nick Cave records that year too, which Steph and I should kind of mention too.
Yeah, I didn't really mention it because it was like they're not my favorites, but yes,
they're not my favorite either. But some of the stuff on some of the covers on Kicking Against the Pricks are pretty good.
Are really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. And there's so many more. This is, Steph, you talked about it. This was kind of like the year for me that I like really started like hunting down music. I think this is when I sort of like I was all in. So, you know, and Alan always talks about 1980. Was that for him? This is 86 is, I think that for me, 84 and 85 are picking up speed, but 86, I'm absorbing I'm breaking out of the sort of like new wave punk kid and into other things in 86. And I'm so thankful. And one of the records that made me do that, I also mentioned that a record that Anthony mentioned, the Cameo record, and Graceland and some other stuff made me sort of explore other records, which I thought was really, really cool. So
okay, I think that's gonna wrap it up for 1986. I just want to mention super quick, just so I can get a Kate Bush song on the playlist.
Yes,
the whole story, her sixth album came out, which was basically a greatest hits album, but it included a re-record of her first single, Wuthering Heights, and a new track called Experiment 4, which is wacko because it's about scientists experimenting on music and using it as a weapon. And I will just close by saying that I saved this for last intentionally because as much as I love all of my friends that are on this podcast, I just want to say that's what friends are for. Because that was one of the biggest singles of the year, Dionne Warwick and her gang of buddies. So that'll close out our playlist in a very happy and positive and sweet way.
Aww.
So next week, we're going to be back talking 2 weeks. Sorry, in 2 weeks, we're going to be back. And listeners, if you remember last year, we did a show called All About That Bass. 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing the same thing, but with drums. A whole show celebrating songs that begin with unaccompanied drum intros. Oh, Stephanie and I are so excited about that.
It's going to be good.
So everybody take care. We will see you soon. Everybody keep rocking on, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.